Hey guys, today I'll be showing you something a little interesting here. It's something different on my table here. This is the Crumar NC-50, also called the Nerve Center 50, which that's what the NC stands for. And it's a real weird little drum machine. It's basically just a drum machine with a built-in arrangement of instruments that are built in. So you have like a piano, a guitar, an organ, and then you have a bass section. And it's just really interesting. It's really cheesy, but I actually like it. It's kind of interesting. But what I had to do to this one is, for those that have seen these things, I've actually seen just a few for sale in the market. And what they do is they all come with this connector, like this right here. It's just it's like a port connector. And from my understanding, I don't know, I'm not 100% sure about how all this Crumar stuff works, but from my understanding and research I did, this was actually made to plug into like a Crumar organ or a Crumar instrument that offered the connection for this module. I think they might even had an accordion that would plug into this thing. But what it does, I had to do some reverse engineering here because this thing is, I couldn't find any information on it. But what I found out is this actually responds to a diode matrix within a keyboard octave. And for instance, when you plug this thing into an organ, this would actually plug into the keyboard contacts through a diode network, and then that would actually go to a little board in this thing where it's multiplexed out to the digital. It's actually all digital, so it's the digital multiplexing, and then it goes and then from there the computer actually drives an analog drum machine board with these instruments and stuff. So it's really interesting. It's a really interesting concept. But really, in a nutshell, it's just a drum machine with a fixed sequence of arrangements for these instruments. That's really what it is. But it's really interesting. So what I did, I took this and I took a MIDI controller keyboard I had from a broken MIDI controller, and I cut the octaves down. This is the old section of it. I actually cut it down all the way to the circuit board level. Cut it down and I wired this thing in. I did accidentally cut one note short though, because I didn't realize, because I was still doing some troubleshooting as well, because this thing had some logic issues internally, and I did cut this down one octave or one note short, not one octave, but one note's missing from the end. The wiring is still in there. It's just I just sealed it so that it won't short out to anything. But what I also found out is I found the wire for the that's actually your clock input. So if you had a 1 megahertz clock signal from something else, you could actually clock this off another unit. And probably what happened is probably when Crumar had this as a expansion, they probably already had a drum machine in the organ, and this was probably made to clock off that organ drum machine, or so you could actually control tempo and everything from the organ. It's just my guess. But I'm just going to show you what this thing sounds like here. It's really funny. One other thing is, if you're noticing this wire actually would originally had a rubber coating on it, just like this wire here. But evidently it didn't age well. But the wiring's okay. There's nothing wrong with this wiring. It's just all exposed. It's not in a sealed rubber container anymore. But it also came with this foot pedal. This is actually made into the unit. It's a foot pedal, and you have an on-off. You have a minor, I think is what that is. It's a minor major foot pedal, and then you have a feel input, so you can actually make the drums have a feel pattern. So it's just really funny. It's really quirky. It's not like any other drum machine I've really seen. It's not programmable, which means you can't actually write your own drum machine or drum patterns. It's just a fixed sequence of drum patterns, but it's really interesting. So I'm just going to show you what this thing sounds like. So when we first hit the pedal, you can hear the drum, just the drum pattern. Speed it up a little bit. And so now what we do, we'll hit a note. Actually, I'll tell you, I'm going to take off all the instruments and set the bass. So you can hear the bass note. We'll go to a different pattern here. So I'm just playing a chord there. So now we'll actually introduce the instrument. So here's the organ. Here's the guitar. the piano. We play chords. There's other arrangement. And then what this does is free fingers what I just hit, and what it does, it makes it automatically play chords with one note, is what that does. So if you wanted to free up your hands, you could just hit a note and it would play an automatic chord. So you get something like that. But we've got this major minor. We've got the fill. Like I was saying, you also have a 2 variation modes of each preset. So if we take that off, you'll have it here a different kit. We can take off all the instruments. Anyways, you get the idea. It's a drum machine with a built-in arrangement, and you can play the keys, and or you can put a finger mode or take the fingering mode off and play chords in a structured setting. But anyways, that's really it. That's really all it does. And I'll walk you around here just so you can see kind of what's the back for anybody that's interested. You actually got a tuning for your instruments, and then you got an external clock which corresponds to this jack I added. And the symbol on, that just actually adds a symbol on or off for the presets. I don't know why they added it back here, but it's there. For those interested in the connector here, I'll go over it and show you how this thing's wired up. So you can actually do this modification yourself. So what it is, it's C, and basically what happens is in between all these, they're blanks between each connection, so one pin is blank. So for instance, it's C blank, C sharp blank, D blank, D sharp blank, E, F, F sharp, or I'm sorry, F blank, F sharp blank, G blank, G sharp blank, A sharp, and then it goes to B, and then blank C again. And then that's kind of how it works. It just kind of repeats that pattern. And the reference is actually on this side here is where the cable would come out. So you're looking at it with the cable coming out this way. And then one of these, I can't remember because I actually pulled the wire off. One of these right here is ground. One of these pins, and the ground is what references between the diode and the keyboard. So it's a ground referencing circuit, is how that works. But anyways, guys, I just want to make a video of this. I know it's really interesting. I hadn't heard a lot of people talk about it. There's not a lot of information on it. But I thought some of you guys might be interested in this, that might have one of these sitting around the house or in the closet somewhere, and I was curious how this thing actually works. It's just a drum machine with a set of instruments built into it with a fixed sequence that just responds to chord patterns is what it is. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching and take care.